Uh, I think people can hear me now. I think the microphone was muted. Tell me if anybody can hear me now, and then I will go into my intro. This was the worst streaming experience I've ever had on PlayStation. PlayStation does not tell you about this whatsoever. Please tell me if I can be heard. And then they'll tell me my microphone's still out, which it probably is.
You can be heard. Thank
I can
God.
be heard? Oh my goodness. Can Sam be heard? I hope Sam can be heard too. We are live.
Yeah.
Finally, this is the Premier Sim Gaming League YouTube channel, and it's time for the Chinese Grand Prix. And it's going to be time for the Chinese Grand Prix because we've missed the majority of qualifying trying to figure out this ridiculous PlayStation mic audio issue that is not really at all told about. Like, I had to go into the broadcast thing I can click on and unmute my microphone. Terrible, terrible setting. Anyway, we are pretty much through most of qualifying. Izak Kush currently has provisional pole position. It's a 130.581 with Cortez with a 130.745. Rattel in third position, Lore in fourth, Kryptonite up there in the top five, and IFR Pat in the top six.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. I wasn't expecting you to come to me there last second, but yeah. We were talking about loads of different things, weren't we? We were talking about how close the drivers and how entertaining the drivers' championship is, and the constructors, but also just about this qualifier session towards the end. We've missed basically all of it right to the end. So really, I think we should get on to constructors and drivers' championship in the interval after qualifying's over, and let's just get some final laps in, because these final laps are going to be the most important ones.
So we have Joey, who's on a lap right now in the Aston Martin. Let's ride on board with the Aston Martin Mercedes driver as he's coming towards the third sector. Let's bring up the lap data and track map so you can see exactly what's going on the live stream, as the annoying shift noise is still very much present on the downshifts, and I believe he's actually aborted this lap because seems to be some very weird downshifts going on towards the end there. Nonetheless, Devin is also on a hot lap right now. He's sitting in seventh position. He has a 130.0 at the moment, just behind IFR Pat by a couple hundredths of a second, as he's about to come towards the end of his second sector. And let's see what he could do here. The final few laps remaining at the moment now for the men here in qualifying. Devin, I don't think that people are on some very weird laps. Cortez sits in second. Lore is, I believe, on a lap right now. He went about a thousandth of a second faster in the first sector, now coming through the second sector, and we'll see how he can get on underway. Kryptonite is in the first sector, and he is starting another lap. Again, in the top five here, could see himself improve. And then here is IFR Pat as well, looking to improve his spot. He is currently down again in sixth position, as Devin, I believe, is going to probably let some people by here, unless this is a pretty much aborted lap time here, and he is going to be going back into the pits and ending it here. Cortez is done to qualifying, as Kryptonite has gone a little bit faster in the second, slower in the second sector by about a tenth of a second. IFR Pat is tumbling down the main back straight, as he's got some drivers ahead of him. As let's see how IFR Pat gets underway here. Sitting in sixth position at the moment behind Kryptonite. Kryptonite is as well a little further back down the back straight. Devin has retired. And across the line, here comes Pat. He's going to go up to the fourth spot there. That puts Kryptonite down out of the top five. Here comes Kryptonite, and I believe this is an aborted lap. Or, well, he was doing well, but unfortunately this is going to be a much slower lap time than normal, and I think he's going to try to go for it again, and we'll see if he can improve his lap time. We're still waiting for some other drivers to come across the line. Schumacher has come across the line, and he's looking to go again for another one, I believe. Here is Menno, and qualifying is over, so the times that are being set at the moment are the times that we are going to have to deal with. Joey RC is going to end up in 10th position for the moment as he is out of the session. His teammate Dutch Missile is about to finish off his final flying lap. We'll see. Oh, and it's an invalidation there at the end of the lap, and it would have been a 131.132, which would have definitely put his time up a little bit there, but unfortunately, that isn't going to be the case. Here comes Menno across the line. Can he improve from the 8th spot? And he is going to go up to the 6th spot. So Kryptonite now down in 7th position. IFR Pat still in 4th position as he's letting by some drivers. That was the ADRT driver of Bedizai, and he is sitting down in 19th position, so he would definitely like to improve. Lewis is just ahead of him in 18th position. And we had a little bit of a yellow flag moment there. It was one of the Ferraris, which seems to have navigated that okay. As Bedizai again sitting in 19th position, just ahead of his Red Bull teammate right there. I believe that's the Red Bull teammate of Legend. Unless that is an AlphaTauri, I can't quite tell. The color's a little off because of the grayed out portion of it. Here comes Kryptonite into the pit lane. He is done with qualifying. He will finish in 7th for the moment. And ADRT Betusai goes 18th, and then a few drivers jump it right here. Who was that? I think Falk and Aroka have gone up quite a few places. Dush Missile was actually having a nice qualifying, but he has since dropped down to 16th, so he is definitely not going to be too happy with that affair. Killcry will sit 15th, Ablaze in 14th, Tom Robbo in 13th position. And that is the end of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize again for missing it. We had some technical difficulties with the audio, but nonetheless, we are back. And let's go over the final grid positions. Isaac Kush has taken pole position here in China with a 130.581, and it is Cortez who will line up alongside around in the first row of the grid. Then it comes Rattel and Pat. Lore in 5th position, Menno in 6th, 7th for Kryptonite, Devon in 8th position, 9th for Schumacher, and rounding off the top 10 is MNT Oroka. Falk in 11th position with Joey in 12th, Tom Rabo in 13th, Ablaze in 14th, 15th for Killcry, the Dutch Missile in 16th, Sem in 17th, ADRT Bedizai in 18th position, Lewis in 19th, and as I expected, yes, it is Legend in the Red Bull. He will start at the bottom of the grid. He did not set a time in the qualifying session.
Yeah, and look at the gaps as well again. So close, and this is a track that really is I love it or you hate it sort of circuit. Some people love this track, some people hate to drive this track, and it's so good to see how close the grids tends to be week in, week out, which shows us, every single week a driver can either be on the top or a driver can be at the bottom, and particularly a site for pole position seems to be very close, but I was suspecting potentially we could have seen some rain at the start of this race, but obviously that's been thrown out the equation because everyone went on for the soft tyres. But seems to be fine. No rain expected. It looks like for at least the opening stage of this race. So we're in for a very good race indeed. And this is a track where overtaking is actually quite quickly compared to obviously real life. So expect to see some good action this race ahead.
And we're just about to get underway with the formation lap. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go over the tires selected from all the drivers. Again, Isaac Kush is your man on pole position in the AlphaTauri, and we'll see how he gets underway here. You're watching live coverage of Formula 3 from the Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. We're here at the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's round 8 of the championship, and as Sam mentioned earlier when our mic audio was cut off, there is just 9 points separating the top 5, so the championship could not be closer. There's that singular red light that comes on, and here is the formation lap. Let's go over the starting lineup for your Chinese Grand Prix. I'm going to bring up the tire details so you can see exactly what everybody has fitted. As quite expected, all of the top 10 are running on the soft tires. It's Isaac Kush with Cortez in 2nd, Rattel in 3rd, Pat in 4th position with 4, rounding off the top 5. Menno in 6th with Kryptonite in 7th, Devon in 8th, Schumacher in 9th position, and Aroka rounding off the top 10. Here are the rest of the tire choices. Falk has gone for the medium tire in 11th position with Joey on the hards in 12th position. Tom Rabo has also elected to take the hard tire. He'll sit in 13th. Ablaze has elected the medium tire. He will start 14th. It is Killcry and Dutch Missile, 15th and 16th respectively, on the hard compound tire. And it is Sem in 17th position who was elected for the mediums. The rest of the grid have elected for the hard tires. That's Bedizai in 18th, Lewis in 19th, and Legend has round off the rest of the grid in 20th position. Going over the championship order one more time for you, Sam, if you can, before we start off the race.
Yeah, I was just about to go over the tyres. I'll go over them in a second. But top 5 really at the moment is Pat, Ablaze. Well, in the order, Devon is leading the championship, 1 point ahead of Schumacher, who is 2 points ahead of Jensen, who's not here tonight, sadly, so he will not be gaining from this. 4th place is Ablaze, and 5th is Pat at the moment. So a lot of different reasons why they're there, mainly due to consistency for most of them, but Schumacher is the one on hot form at the moment. He has taken 2 victories from the last 3 races and has had a podium in those last 3, but all championship contenders, believe it or not, are not in the top 3. Isaac Kush in midfield. Cortez, he can dive into this championship hunt win tonight, and Rattel, he has really been here in many races so far, and he hasn't really proven to be at the front so far. So we're in for a very, very tasty race, and for those battling for the championship, mainly your top 2, Devon, Schumacher, and Jensen, who seem to be the closest 3 at the moment, all of them are either not here, they're in the midfield battle, and even Ablaze, I think, is down the grid. So we're in for a very strategic and a very different sort of for these top contenders in the championship battle.
And Legend is now just lining up on the final grid position. He will take up the 20th spot in this Chinese Grand Prix. All the drivers are ready. One of the Williams is bouncing with excitement. That was Rattel's car right there. 28 laps of the Chinese Grand Prix are about to get underway. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The engines are roaring, and it's time for the 5 red lights. Isaac Kush with 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And the lights are out, and away we go here in China. And it's Isaac Kush who gets a good start, and it's already going to be 3 wide coming into turn 1. That is Rattel, who's challenging in 3rd position. There's a spin already, and that looks to be Pat, who is out. Down in 20th position. That was a horrible start for the man in 5th position. Isaac Kush, though, got a good start. Cortez in 2nd, Rattel in 3rd, with Menno in 4th position. Laura is falling very close behind. Well, is he going to make a dive on the outside? He's going to look for it. Menno, meanwhile, actually goes through Rattel as he tried to go on the inside. Rattel, though, is keeping up in 3rd position. Laura is still in 4th position with Menno now down in 5th. Devon is in 6th position with Schumacher in 7th. Kryptonite down in 8th position. Falk in 9th. Aroka keeps within the top 10 at the moment. But it is Isaac Kush who got a great start off the line. Kilcry and Joey RC are going side by side at the moment. Who's going to have the advantage here? Looks like Joey might have the advantage. Oh, but he goes off track. That might give it to Kilcry. Might have better traction. Coming out of the turn. Now go into the uphill chicane here. Who's going to have the advantage? Looks like Joey, who just sneaks ahead, but Kilcry is still very much in the mix there. His front tire right there, just side by side now with Joey, as who's going to get the better exit coming out of there? It looks like Joey actually got some very nice traction, and he's able to try to extend that gap. Now in 13th position. Isaac Kush already a second ahead of Cortez, as he is trying to defend from Rattel, who's also about 8/10 behind. Lore. We have a few battles down the order here.
Yeah, something's going on in midfield. I think Joey's just gone past the Dutch missile, swept past them, really. There's a bit of a moment between like 4 drivers there. Where they all collide all with each other. Pat, I think his race is pretty much over at this point, unless there's a safety car. He's coming into the pits, so I don't know if he's got wing damage or whether this is a...
We have a little move on the inside right there. That was Lewis trying to go on the inside. He now hangs it around the outside, trying to get 17th position from Sam. It doesn't quite work there. It's a little difficult to make that pass in that particular part of the track. Devon at the moment looks to be sizing up a move on Menno, who is being affected a little harsher in the dirty air than Laura is to Rattel, who's still keeping up, relatively speaking, with Rattel. About 8/10 of a second separating them. Rattel separated by 8/10 from Cortez. Cortez, same amount, generally speaking, from Isaac Kush. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, right there, as we're about to get on to lap number 3 in this Grand Prix. DRS will be activated, and then you'll really start to see the sparks fly here. I expect some very nice passes. Sam is getting quite close to the back of Bedizai, but he keeps behind for the moment. Lewis is still waning in on the reins there. A nice McLaren versus Ferrari battle might come to head rather soon, as Isaac Kush, though, again, keeping the lead. It's about 7/10 of a second at the moment, and that is important for Cortez. He cannot lose that gap to Isaac Kush. If he loses more time, he's going to be out of DRS, and it's going to be very difficult to pass Isaac Kush. But now we begin the third lap. Isaac Kush was fastest. Cortez snatched it right away at 134.825. Fastest on track at the moment is Cortez. He's back by about 0.8 of a second. DRS is now activated on lap number 3. Drivers can open up the rear flap on their cars, increasing the mile per hour by a very significant margin, especially here at China. There's 2 big DRS straights, one on the start-finish line and one on the back straight, and that can lead to some very exciting moves as Cortez is trying to close up on Kush.
Yeah, Rattel for dead at the moment. He's 1.3 behind. He looks like he's not even gaining time on him. He's just losing 1.4 now. In fact, unless it's my sort of side of things, he's actually just glitching all over the place at the moment. But Law is the person who's going to be closing up to Rattel, with Menno just behind as well, and Devon and Schumacher. Schumacher looked very racy on the first lap. He was good to get overtakes on Devon from every single opportunity, but everyone sliding into each other. Watch out for Falk though. Soft tyres, they're not going to last very long. They go very quickly back, and Falk being on the mediums, be sure he could end in these next couple of laps.
The 2 Aston Martins are getting a little dicey here. Joey has lost quite a bit of time. He's 2 seconds back from a blaze, and Dutch Missile is closing up on him. Here comes Cortez. He gets as close as about half a second to Isaac Kush, so the DRS is working well. But as you said right there, the soft tires are not a great tire to be on in terms of the long game here, as those tires are going to get eaten up very quickly. China has always been a high deg track, both in the real life and in the game. But as you said, Falk there, he's rounding up in the top 10 right now, 3 laps on those medium tires. He's going to be a lot longer in this race, and he can stop a lot later. Falk very much looking for a nice finish here if he can make that strategy work out for him. He just has to avoid damage or any other incidents. Cortez, though, again, 0.6 of a second back now. He didn't quite make the pass on the start-finish line. Didn't quite get the exit out of the final turn right there, as Isaac Kush did. Again, we have some nice battles that could be sizing up here. Beduzai looking on Joey RC. Kill Cry is still in the mix right there as well. Sem is even closer to the back of that Mercedes, but he's going to stick it in 17th position for the moment. Oh, look at this now. A nice exit for the McLaren as he's going to try to hang it around the outside. Very difficult at that part of the track, and it doesn't quite work for him. Will he make for a switchback? He's going to look for the inside move. Just can't quite get it done. He's going to remain from the back of Kilcry for the moment. That allows Lewis, though, to catch right back up in the mix. It's a very nice battle here at the bottom of the order, and we could see some very nice racing. But nonetheless, going back up to the top here, Isaac Kush is in the lead of this Grand Prix. In that AlphaTauri, Cortez and the Haas is leading the rest of the pack at 0.6 of a second. Down again to about half a second. Doesn't quite get close enough for a move there, though. Rattel is sitting in 3rd position in the Williams. Lore, the Haas teammate to Cortez, is sitting in 4th position, trying to chase down Rattel, and maybe even put even some more pressure on Isaac Kush. He's going to have 2 very fast Haas's behind him. We're on lap 5 of this Grand Prix now, as those soft tire runners are certainly going to be looking to make pit stops very, very soon.
Yeah, and Devon's just put a lovely move. Missed that. I don't know where he's come from, but it does look like Menno has a very poor lap this lap round, and his tyres are struggling more than everyone else.
Ooh, Joey and Beduzai going side by side. What a nice little move here, and it looks like Beduzai is going to have the advantage. The McLaren now of Semi's going to try to get involved in it. But at the moment, I think they're all going to stay relatively where they are. Oh, a big dive from Lewis, though, on the inside of Kilcry. And what a move from the Ferrari. He puts himself up into 17th position. Very nice dive bomb there from the Ferrari.
Yeah, very back. We want to see the moves at the front at the moment. But from the back, a lot of moving going around. Sam, of course, he's on a mission. He wants to catch up to the rest of these medium runners. He don't want to be stuck behind all these hard runners, but he knows he's got an advantage. Has to go wide there, maybe just a poor bit to steer there, or unstableness from tracker or something. But yeah, he's struggling at the back there as Sam. He's want to make up moves. Joey maybe a little bit too hasty on the front on the tree. It's going to be quite daunting around these long corners on the hards for the first few laps, as those tyres are just not going to have any grip. And here goes Sam. He's going to move to the inside. Should be a nice and easy move. Actually made a bit more difficult than expected. Is Joey going to try to attack this? He is. I don't think he's going to win this battle, though, and there we go. And he may actually lose a
Ooh,
position to Lewis,
a
potentially.
little bit of
Oh,
contact
my
between the
goodness.
two.
Yeah, a little bit of
Oh,
contact.
Lewis, what a big move
Oh.
there is Joey into the pits. So he goes in the pit lane. It was a little bit of an awkward entrance into the pit lane, but he will stop. And did he have damage, I wonder? Or was that a weird defensive move to get out of a possible dangerous situation there? I'm not too sure. Obviously, it's very early, and he is getting his front wing changed. I don't quite see a lot of damage on the front wing there, but he felt it. Pat has had another big spin down at 20th position. It's been a terrible race for the man in 5th position in the championship, and he's had another spin on those medium tires, and I don't expect he's going to last too much longer in this race. Meanwhile, Schumacher is sizing up Menno, and look at this. He almost went for an outside move there, but Menno covered him off well. He's sitting now in 7th position. He might get the run right here. Let's see if he makes a move on the dive on the inside. He now switches to the outside. Menno covers it off well. Nice defending by Menno, but is it all for naught as Menno is 1.7 seconds back from Devon, so he's not going to have any DRS protection here. And look at this, a fantastic exit from Schumacher. This will surely give him the position. Riding on the back right there with Menno, and look at this, Menno might get overtaken by 2 drivers here, as yes he is. Kryptonite gets ahead, and it looked like Falk might have been going for it. Menno's trying to hang it around the outside. He gets pushed off, and Schumacher has been spun round, or did he lose it himself? I'm not too sure. It was a little bit of contact right there.
No, he's lost it. He's clearly lost it on the exit of that corner. He's gone on to the apex there, I think, and what it has done is it's completely lost him so much time in this race. And you know, his plan was to catch up with Devon. Them about an hour right in the championship at the front, 1 point separating between them, with Devon having that 1 point advantage. And now that's put a huge spanner in the works for Schumacher, because that is him not only behind Menno now and Kryptonite, that is probably him behind quite a few drivers in the mix. And you've got to think as well, he's lost time on those drivers who are going for the alternative strategy, which will be likely on the mediums at the end or the softs at the end.
And Rattel right here, I'm running on board of him. He is 4/10ths back from Cortez. Cortez is struggling to keep up with Cortez is struggling to keep up with Isaac Kush. That's allowing Rattel to get ever so closer to a move right here and possibly get himself up in the 2nd position. Cortez needs to stay closer to Kush in order to really gain the advantage of that DRS, because Rattel is definitely putting on some very good pressure here as DRS straight comes on now. And Cortez still has that DRS, so Rattel's advantage here is going to be a little less slim, but we'll have to wait here. As look at Cortez, he got very close to the back of Isaac Kush's diffuser right there. Not so much a move, but almost a little bit of a missed braking point. And there is Cortez in the pits. So the first of the top 2 into the pit lane. Is anyone else going to follow suit? No. So Cortez is the only one here going for the undercut strategy, it seems, in this top end of the grid. As Isaac Kush is still in the lead with Rattel in 2nd, but he's in a bit of an AlphaTauri sandwich right now as Devon is looking to catch up to Rattel. But can Rattel now possibly get the lead in this Grand Prix away from Isaac Kush, or are we going to see some pit stops from these final 3? I think we have to at this point. They're the only drivers left on the soft tires, and even now you could argue they're extending that advantage just a little bit too much on the soft compound tire.
Yeah, well, it will be likely we may see a change of the lead. The medium tyres are far clearer than the softs, but the thing is, though, will those mediums make it to the end for the softs? They should do, but most certainly they are risking puncher territory, I think, this early. So I wonder if Isaac Kush, Rattel, and Devon are going to try and make it out a few more laps, if they can extend a bit. But it will be very interesting watching the time. And yeah, you look on like you change the gap from interval to leader. You can just see the leaders Cortez just closing that gap every few seconds. That time it is going right down. So if it is Rattel, Stifler, etc. M&T Rattel as he's known now, Devon, they would have to pit very soon to come out ahead of their respective battles.
And interestingly enough, Rattel stays out. Isaac Kush also pits. Devon stays out. Obviously, you don't want to double stack there. But Isaac Kush getting the preference, of course, in the pit stop battle right there. he did outqualify Devin there, but Rattel stays out as well. Very interesting decision from Rattel. I understand, of course, Devin not wanting to pit. He doesn't want to get double stacked, but Rattel, I think this is maybe a little bit
This
of
is
a
going to be
mistake.
well close. Oh, yep. Cortez has got him. Like I said, it's going to be close. Both Hasses have got him. So at the moment, theoretically, has two at the moment. Isaac Kush making that lap later has completely cost him here. He's now behind both Hasses, let alone one. So this is going to be a very interesting race from now on. Is Isaac Kush going to be desperate enough to make the moves on these Haas drivers?
Now, even more so, though, as well. Now, what's going to happen with Rattel? He stayed out. Devin as well stayed out. And that's going to be rather unfortunate for Devin, as he's probably going to get caught up here as well and get passed by, of course, the two Haas's. And that, not only that, but probably as well his teammate and maybe even Menno as well. We'll have to wait and see. The longer they stay on these soft tires, the more time they're going to be losing now. Now Falk is actually challenging Devin right now on this particular lap. So Devin might even get passed by somebody who's on track and not because of a pit stop here as he goes on the inside. Falk easily makes the move on Devin. Devin can't even defend it right there. And here comes Rattel. Does he enter the pit lane this time around? Yes, he does. Thankfully, he comes into the pits now, and we'll see how that goes for him. As where is Devin? Devin is well into the pit lane, and they're into the pits. So Falk is currently the leader of this Grand Prix. As you said, somebody to watch out for. Falk started on the medium tires, now leads this Grand Prix, and he's got his WOR compatriot of Ablaze in second position, though. IFR Tom Robo is trying to make that his second place.
And look at that, MNT Rattel. He's well up these guys. These leaders have absolutely darted away from him. Menno, Kryptonite, Orica. Town's having a lot of moments there with his or something. But anyway, but look at Devin though. How much he's lost. He's lost out to Menno, Kryptonite, and Orica, who are all behind him before the pit stops. And now Schumacher, who was a driver who spun obviously when Devin was. So there's about a 7 or 8 second gap, completely been destroyed, and Schumacher now is right behind the AlphaTauri. It looked relatively quicker when he was about. So we're going to see this battle, and these two would most certainly be a very entertaining battle because they're right at the front of the field.
Isaac Kush, meanwhile, is trying to size up a move on Lore, but he's got Cortez's teammate ahead of him. Lore is going to help a little bit with that DRS and try to hurt Isac's advantage. Isaac looked like he was getting a better exit, but he kind of loses the car a little bit, and Lore gains the advantage here. And of course, now down the DRS straight, as you can see, just really not too much advantage being given to Isaac Kush. A little bit more, he is a little bit closer, but Isaac Kush is going to have to stay behind for the moment. And he is going to be looking at the back of those two Haas cars of Cortez and Lore, sitting in 9th and 10th position. Of course, the hard tire runners will eventually lead this Grand Prix on their own right. Lewis in 6th, Dutch Missile up into 5th, Bedizai in 4th, Tom Rabo right there. He's actually challenging Ablaze right now for that second position. So are the medium tires now starting to see the end of their lifespan? They're not that much better than the softs. Again, extremely high deg track here in Shanghai. And Ablaze may be starting to feel the pressure now. It might be time for the drivers who start on the mediums to also now make their pit stops.
Maybe not the pit stops, I don't think. I think they'll extend it out as much as they can, as Isaac Kush set at the inside of Law. Doesn't get the move done though, so Law will stick in for it for a few more corners, I suppose. But Isaac Kush is certainly putting pressure on that Haas driver and is definitely looking to hunt down Cortez. But as you said at the front, I think the medium tyres and the hards are kind of going to remain at the same sort of wavelength for a little while. But these drivers, they will not be looking to pit yet. You'll be looking at 4 or 5 laps before any of them are even considering it at the moment, because the worst scenario they would is to go to the hards, because the hard guys, although they'll make it to the end, it will be kind of pointless. So for these medium runners, they're going to try to extend it out and try.
This is crucial here. Lore is out of DRS range. I think he's not going to have DRS on this particular lap. No, he does not. This opens up the door for Isaac Kush. Can he make a dive on the inside? He was definitely thinking about it, but he just didn't quite get the exit out of the final chicane right there. That sweeping left-hand turn. Sorry, that sweeping right-hand turn. Didn't quite get the exit he wanted. And unfortunately, he was not able to make the move. Cortez, meanwhile, look at this. We have a pit stop for Falk. And as I said, I really did think Falk was really feeling the wear on his medium tires there. Even a hard tire runner of Tom Robo was really putting the pressure on him. He's decided to make a pit stop
Oh
and
my
go onto the hard
goodness.
tires. Yep, I'm
Cortez
riding
is
on board right
really trying
here.
to go.
Well, look at this. Aroka and Devin are going side by side as well, as Aroka is still hanging on the inside. Devin has the outside. Ooh, a little bit of a tap there from Devin as he cut across the Mercedes there. Here is Legend, and Cortez is, look at this. Legend has been pushed far wide by the Haas of Cortez, and Legend now is in a Haas sandwich right now. Lore certainly is going to be looking to make a pass as soon as possible because he has Isaac Kush right behind him, and he knows the driver he's really battling at the moment. And oh my goodness, Lore is really getting held up quite a bit there by Legend. He really needs dispatch of the Red Bull driver as soon as possible.
Kush?
Oh, on the inside!
Kush. Oh, has he gone too deep? Not too sure. He's on the inside. There we go. He's got the move. He's not from Isaac Kush. Lore obviously blinded a bit by that red, kind of put off by that Red Bull. Isaac Kush. Hey, I'll just take advantage before the DRS. We knew what Lore was going to do. He was going to sit behind Legend for the DRS and overtake him there. Isaac Kush has just stole all the glory, and now Cortez, who's come up to more traffic, and well, his Legend gave. If it's the same with what Legend gave Cortez in terms of the traffic issues, it could be a very, very interesting strategy for both Cortez and Isaac Kush in this race.
The rest of the medium tire runners have pitted, and they're going to be going to the hard tires till the end of this race. And we'll see how that fares for them. But we are off of the starting tires. Everybody pretty much on now a second set of tires, or a third if you've had a bit too much damage. Kill Cry is the last person still remaining in the pit lane. He has come out in 17th position. Falk is now down in 15th. Schumacher is down in 14th position and needs to make up some places in this race. Meanwhile, Isaac Kush running into similar issues as Lore did. He can't make it past Legend. Legend's sitting there really holding up Isaac Kush. Legend sitting there in 6th. He's not going to make the position that easy to gain for Isaac Kush. We'll see if Isaac Kush goes for another cheeky dive on the inside coming into the chicane here. He does not, and he holds back for the moment. Legend, though, was back by 1.5 seconds. Surely a pass with DRS is in the tables for Isaac Kush. Who gets the better exit? It looks like Isaac Kush got a little bit of a better exit coming out of that right-hander. And here comes Isaac Kush, very easily going to be making the pass. Meanwhile, it's very important that Lore also passes him, but he can't. He's just too far back. This is not good for Lore, because now he has to go through possibly a whole other lap of trying to get past Legend, unless Legend makes a pit stop probably this lap, and he does not. So Lore is going to have some issues here as Lewis and Bedazai now into the pit lane, and Dutch Missile and Tom Rabo are the only drivers at the moment who are still on their first set of tires. Tom Rabo is currently leading this Grand Prix.
Yeah, look at Legend. He's really giving it a go. Aside through the corner, Legend is literally these guys, of course, and he is doing that. He is frustrating, and here we go. He's got his overtake on again. Is he going to try and send it to the inside? Surely not. No, he's going to back out. That's unsurprising. He doesn't have tires to do so. But Legend really giving it a go with the battle. Just look at how much time Isaac Kush lost because of the battles. And again, the Dutch forward, it's come out of an awkward moment. He's going slowly. This could be a problem for the Alpha Tower if he doesn't get by here. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. Smith does seem like he's well behind on pace, but he's awkward where there's no real overtaking opportunity, which is going to be costing Isaac Kush and the drivers behind. Particularly able to close back in again, and this should be an easy move. Isaac Kush down the straight. The Dutch Missile's got no ERS. Really, in hindsight, really, it's not really useful for the ERS because Dutch Missile was all out of it. But there we go. Got past them for another position. Now it's down Cortez for a third time in this race.
Bertel has gone past Legend as well. He's up in the 6th position. Legend now in 7th. He's still in this race. Oh, but a big spin for the Red Bull. Is this going to be problems? And he is reset on track. I don't think that was necessarily something he should have done, but nonetheless, he has reset it on the racing line, and that was a spin for Legend. And did he just did he last a little bit too long on those tires?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was a puncher or something, but obviously, yeah, I think obviously Legend he was rippling so much with those tires, and it was kind of pointless really at the end of the day because he wasn't battling for position. He was just battling free will to do so, and yeah, he's kind of just cost himself. His tires may have just gotten so bad that he cannot compete when he feels it. And yeah, the mistake was just imminent, and yeah, there goes Legend. He was round. And yeah, he'll be pitted very.
Dutch Missile probably wants to take this as a warning himself because he's still also on his hard tires. He's the only driver besides Legend who is still on that tire. And I'm sure Legend will be making his pit stop on this lap. But Dutch Missile is still out there in fourth position, really extending the advantage of those hard tires. But isn't so much of an advantage anymore. Rattel, meanwhile, is going to make a very easy pass here. And look at Devin right now on Menno. He's going to make the pass as well. Devin up in the sixth position ahead of Menno on those much newer medium tires. That is the advantage Devin does have. His tires are much newer than the other soft tire runners. He's going to have a lot more grip than some of these other guys. And he can use that to his advantage. Meanwhile, Dutch Missile is finally into the pit lane, and I'm sure Legend is going to follow suit.
Yeah, a lot of batting going on towards the end of this race now. It is about to get very exciting, with particularly these medium runners like Tom Robber, for example, closing in on these hard tyre drivers. He should get past Legend very quickly, who's decided to stay out again. But yeah, these medium runners, they are going to be looking in this next couple of laps, and potentially could be quite this, but the leaders are all on medium, so you know, all about making sure they can conserve their tyres to the end. But Kush, he could be making an overtake this lap.
Yeah, Isaac Kush really sizing up Cortez for a move right here as he's coming towards the end of the second sector, and you can just see right there, it's 6 laps versus 7 laps. All that single lap can make a big difference in terms of your grip, depending on how you treated your tires throughout this middle stage of the race. We're on lap 16 of 28. Cortez is a sitting duck down this DRS straight. The better exit has been given to Isaac Kush. Isaac Kush, this should be an easy breeze finish for Cortez to make the move on him. Isaac Kush has gone up into the lead of the race ahead of Cortez. Cortez is right behind back there now. Lore, there's a bit of a dilemma here in the Haas paddock. Who is the driver you let by? That depends how fast Lore is. Cortez has been passed. And, a little bit of a squirm there from Cortez. And Lore might be wanting to get past his teammate now. Do we have a little bit of team gamesmanship in terms of letting by the other driver, or is it just all-out racing here? Well, I think the answer is clearly being told right now, because Lore was looking for a move on Cortez, and Cortez kind of invited him and then closed the door. So I think you know what the team situation here is at Haas. It's an all-out fight at the moment for that second position, but Isaac Kush is probably going to start running away with this one. Just clearly much faster on those medium tires at the moment than Cortez. Cortez looking to struggle a little bit on that set of mediums. Lore is closing up. Rattel right there in fourth position, also getting involved.
Yeah, like I said, there's going to be a lot of movements. It's done a smacking job, in my opinion, to the top three. The top three looked like they were going to be clear. Rattel lost a lot of time, and Devin as well. He's really done well in these last couple of laps. He's got past all and it's kind of left his championship rival Schumacher in the dust in ninth place. But Schumacher is closing in now to these guys, and now is looking to make up ground. But for Devin, it's a big bet at the moment, and if he can get the DRS of these top guys, then don't root him out for a race victory here tonight, because he looks like he can be very quick in the race conditions come towards the end of this race.
Isaac Kush continuing to lead this Grand Prix ahead of Cortez, ahead of Lore. Rattel in fourth. Devin is, as you said, in fifth position. Schumacher sitting all the way down in ninth position, with Falk sitting in 10th. 11th for Tom Rabo, the 2 Alfa Romeos in the 10th and 11th respectively. Legend is still out there on those hard tires. This is getting a little ridiculous. I wonder if finally going into the pit lane. 16 laps on the hard tires, including one Spinnerino, and he is going to go on to the mediums. He's going to be very, very fast at the end of this race. Meanwhile, Lewis has had a spin as well, I want to mention, on the start-finish line, and that's not going to help him whatsoever, as he's going to almost drop to the back of the grid, as Pat is still down there in 19th position with Joey with a DNF out of this race. Isaac Kush is still in the lead with Cortez in second, Laura in third, fourth for Rattel, Devin 1.3 seconds back now, so he's closing up slower and slower, slowly closing up. It's a horrible set of words I just spewed out of my mouth right there. Devin is slowly closing up to Rattel. He is on much newer tires than Cortez, Lore, and Isaac Kush. Rattel in the similar belt, though. Here comes Rattel, though, and he might be looking for a move. Even with the DRS, Lore can't defend very well, and we're going to see a bit of side-by-side action here, I think, as a dive on the outside by Rattel. But it is a very nice defensive move from Lore, and Lore will keep third position for the moment. But you can just see the advantage. 3-lap newer tires. Rattel is really putting the pressure on Lore, and he might find himself in third position sooner rather than later. The more they battle, though, the more Devin can catch up. Sem is out of this race, and he's had a crash. Is that going to bring out a safety car?
I don't know. We haven't seen the safety car, so potentially, but it doesn't look like the game doesn't seem to have bring it out. I'm waiting for it to happen now, aren't I? But no, I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, Rattel has done very, very well to catch up to these guys. But not only that, he looks fairly racy compared to Lauren. You know, those medium tyres seem to be going off now, perhaps, for that Haas. And remember, with it being 3 laps older, well, his tyres are actually in the best shape of all of them. Rattel's got actually such a good advantage here now that he's caught up with these guys. So Laura could be in trouble if he starts losing the grip a lot more. And we could see Rattel potentially on for a podium, if not a victory here as well. So a lot of things still to play for in these final few laps.
Both Lewis and Sem have retired from the session. They've had a couple of spins and a couple of moments there. Of course, Sem out of the race. Lewis has decided to retire after that spin he had a couple of laps ago. That's put Pat up in the 17th position, the moment behind Legend. And Rattel now still sizing up a move, but he can't quite make it happen. The two Lores, the two Haas's of Lore and Cortez, are staying stationary at the moment. They're both second and third. Not really looking for a move on each other and not looking for a move for the lead of the race. But is it time? Cortez is getting very close to the back of Isaac Kush right now. Isaac Kush is on newer medium tires, but is he working them a little bit harder? Is he trying to keep the lead of this race as much as possible? 134.279, that is the fastest lap of the race so far, and that was set by Tom Rabo, who is going to get that fastest lap point if he can stay there in 10th position. Closest man is his teammate Falk, who is 8/10ths back in 11th position. Isaac Kush 6/10ths ahead of Cortez. Cortez is 4/10ths ahead of Lore. And Lore sitting there in third position ahead of Rattel, who is still looking very racy. Devin, about the same, 1.5 seconds. Really hasn't been able to gain any time on Rattel, and that's not what he needs in this race. Schumacher is sitting in ninth position. He's on 12-lap old medium tires. Tom Rabo may very well be looking to put down Schumacher a position. Here comes, it's Rattel who's had a big spin. Rattel has had a spin, very unorthodox from the Williams driver, and he has spun in this race. That is very good for Devin. That puts him up into 4th position, and not only that, but it unleashes Devin on the much newer mediums, and now he can try to chase after Lauren Cortez.
Yeah, and that is just very unfortunate for Rattel, really. He's obviously caused his own mistake, it seems like, but, he looked like he could have been challenging for a podium or the victory, and, that's completely cost him big time, as Schumacher now picks up a penalty. So, a few drivers now starting to pick up penalties. I wonder how close some other drivers, particularly at the front, are from getting a penalty as well. Orica, though, he is going to be looking in a prime position to potentially overtake Vettel. So this could get worse for the M&T driver or the Williams driver, because Orica, Kryptonite, and Schumacher will all be out, and Tom Robbo, and watch out for him as well. I'll say that in a minute. But all of those drivers will be very, very close to him next time around with the DRS. But Tom Robbo in particular, with those fresh medium tyres, he's going to have a lot more grip. And on the exit of the second spiral and everything, where the grip is really, really needed, Tom Robbo could definitely be looking for a move on the Ferrari as Schumacher come by the end of the straight.
Meanwhile, let's get up to the back of the top of the leaderboard here. Isaac Kush is still in the lead, 9/10 ahead of Cortez. Lohr in third. Devin is staying relatively in the same position, 1.4 seconds. He's really not he's not really getting as much time as you'd expect with those much newer tires, but Lohr and Cortez are still up there, quite far ahead of him at the moment. In retrospect, given it is China with no DRS, 1.6 seconds is a pretty decent gap to have. Schumacher, meanwhile, is under pressure from Tom Robbo, who looks on the inside for a dive right there that he can't quite get done on this particular lap. But he does have another straight. Ooh, a little bit of a back-end wobble there from Tom Robbo. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, it is much better for Tom Robbo than it is Schumacher. 13, now 14 laps on those medium tires Schumacher has been. And Tom Robbo is going to be in a much better position. He now looks on the inside. That wasn't really a position to make a move over there. Is he going to look for an outside dive now? He's now looking on the inside, and Schumacher is just really struggling. You can just tell by how close Tom Robbo is getting in on a couple of these corners. Here comes Tom Robbo on the inside of the Ferrari. Can he get the move done? And Schumacher hangs it around the outside, gives him a little tap. They're still side by side, coming through the flat left-hander here, and now coming into the right-hander, and it is Schumacher who keeps it.
Yeah, there's a little tap at the rear there. Tom Robbo is just basically pushing him through the corner. Unless that's just my side of things, but he's pushing him through the corner there. And I mean, Tom Robbo's got to be careful. He surely doesn't want any damage at this point. He's got such an opportunity, and there really was a pure example of the grip advantage Tom Robbo has. Watch the exit here. Can he put himself in a good position to really attack Schumacher? No, he cannot. But that dive was so audacious. He came from a mile back on Schumacher, and I think really that was a bit too audacious, and probably why he hasn't got the move done. But is he going to try it here? No, he's not. Again, he looks like he's going to be having a very entertaining race his next couple of laps, and he's definitely up for it, it does seem like.
This is very important for Schumacher, of course, though. Going down a position, he's going to lose another point to Devin, who's up in fourth position at the moment. I'm sure that's why Schumacher's racing so aggressively here. He needs to keep Tom Robbo behind if he has any chance of keeping close in this championship. He has to minimize the damage. And Tom Robbo, though, once again, will be looking to size up a move on Schumacher. Will he go for that same audacious dive bomb? This time, he's not as close. It's about 2.5 tenths of a second. He is gaining quite a bit of time, though. And he goes for another big dive. It's even bigger than before. He almost spins the car around. And he keeps it, though, straight on track. That could have been disastrous for his race, but Schumacher is still ahead. And Tom Robbo is getting very impatient with the Ferrari. He wants to get ahead as soon as possible.
Yeah, Schumacher was so much smarter this time round than the last time. Last time, he wasn't expecting it at all. He left the door open. This time, he kind of just closed the door when he came into the corner. Like, he kind of knew that he could dive from that range, and Schumacher just closed the door and kind of just made Tom Robbo very intimidated into the corner, and, you know, obviously squeezed the line on the inside. And I don't know what Tom Robbo's tactics are here, but at the end of the day, this is probably the only way. He's in a DRS train at the moment. There's no real other place to overtake at the moment, so Tom Robbo is probably just struggling a little bit further. But
another big dive for the Alfa Romeo, trying to make it work, can't do it. Schumacher doesn't even have to defend. It was just too deep of a dive bomb there for Tom Robbo. But he's really getting so close to Schumacher. This is some very last of the late breaker racing here, and I haven't seen this in quite a while, especially in sim racing when drivers tend to be very cautious on these dive bomb moves, which can really ruin a race for you. Schumacher, though, is really holding up Tom Robbo, apparently in Tom Robbo's view, because he is getting extremely impatient. He's going for the biggest dive bombs I've seen in quite a long time, but here he comes again. Is Tom Robbo going to go for that move? He decides against it. He kind of understands now Schumacher is not going to be so nice to him. Oh, but a big loss for Schumacher. Side by side on the left-hander. I think Tom Robbo has it. And yes, he does, ahead of Schumacher finally. And that will put him up into 9th, and Schumacher now down in the final point scoring position.
Oh my goodness, he's absolutely raking the car.
Those medium tires are definitely near the end of their lifespan, but unfortunately, you can't really afford to make a pit stop at this point, so he's just going to have to tough it out. But I think he might lose this position to Falk now. This is not good for the championship. He might not score points here.
Yeah, but Schumacher here and everything, literally that's all Tom Robbo needed to do. All these dive bombs and everything, they were pointless. And all it took was a small little wheel spin, a small little mistake from Schumacher to get him through. And, you know, Tom Robbo in the end, he does become the victor, but he does also have a bit of a cost here, because he's now stuck behind these two. Could get past Kryptonite very easy here.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of pressure on Kryptonite here, and he might make a move on the inside already. Here comes Kryptonite, though. Kryptonite looking for a move. Oh, Kryptonite just kind of came across him a little bit. I think it was a little reactionary from Aroka, but here on the inside is of Kryptonite. He's now going to try to hang it on the outside. That was a weird move right there. He kind of lost the car a little bit in the turn and moved far to the outside lane right there. Kryptonite, though, is trying to size it up on Aroka. Tom Robbo is still right there in 9th position for the moment. But he'll be looking to get past Kryptonite and Aroka as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Schumacher has pitted for softs. This is an interesting choice here. That's going to mean basically he's not going to be scoring any points now. Kryptonite, meanwhile, is behind Tom Robbo. Maybe a similar situation. Didn't quite see the move right there, but did Kryptonite lose it, much like Schumacher?
Yeah, and not only that though, like the fact that they pitted Schumacher and the Dutch missile kind of shows that they haven't really got confidence that those mediums will make it to the end. For someone like Law, Cortez and Isaac Kush, this could be a little bit, and Menno as well for that matter, it could be a little bit worrying really if they have got a similar sort of situation to Schumacher and the Dutch missile. Those ones could be potentially in for a tough time. And I'm looking at ball with Menno. He just looked up his front right. Those tyres look in a right state in these last couple of laps. I want to see if any of these are going to try and sacrifice something and try and take something different. But at the end of the day, if you pit, you lose it all. So really, it is now like Lando Norris at Russia last week. It's it's risk and reward at the moment. You're taking the risk to stay out, but the reward could be a victory, particularly in Isaac Kush's case, or Cortez, or even Law's case at the moment.
We're on lap 26 of 28. There are 3 laps remaining in this Grand Prix, and Isaac Kush continues to lead this race. 1.9 seconds is the gap from Cortez. Lore back by 1.3 seconds. Devin is now just 3 tenths back. He is on much newer tires, and I think at this... Oh,